Good afternoon, class. For the final project presentation, I want to use the solver problem to create a financial model. So my research is a Simeon healthcare agency is an agency that provides home healthcare service to the patients that get admitted into the agency. At the year of 2020, at the fourth quarter of 2020, Simeon Healthcare Agency got total number of 1,500 referrals from the hospitals and clinics. And the total acceptance rate is 65%. That means 65% of those 1,500 referrals will be admitted. 1,500 of referred patients would be admitted into the agency. So the total number of admissions into the agency is 975. Agency have categorized 12 clinical groupings based on the patient's diagnostic categories. So a cardiac patient falls under cardiac clinical grouping. COVID or respiratory diseased patient falls under respiratory category. Rehab patients falls under rehab category, MS rehab and neuro rehab. Wound patient into the wound category. And for every category, there are different admission rates. So these are the admission rates for based on the clinical grouping category. And the revenue is multiplying the admission rate times the total number of admitted patients into each of the category and summing them all together. Then I have a cost part. As this is a healthcare agency, so nurses, therapy, and the home health aid clinicians provide services to those admitted patients. So the service has been provided by the number of visits that a nurse makes, therapy makes, or a HHA clinician makes. So the operating cost is for each visit, a nurse receives $210, therapies receive $225, and home health aid clinicians receive $125. Operating cost is multiplying the visits times the rate for each of the clinicians. So this is my operating cost. Gross margin is basically taking revenue minus cost, and the gross margin percentage is the gross margin divided by the total number of operating revenue. So my objective is to produce a model which will help the operations team to identify how the patients needed to be admitted into the agency so that the agency can maximize 45% of net profit. So that is my goal for this project. Another thing before running the solver I want to mention is I have a visit utilization guidance. So the visit utilization guidance is for every admission, nurse for the behavioral health group category will make from 2.5 visits to 3.6 visits. So for behavioral health category, a nurse is providing 2.5 to 3.6 visits for every admission. For therapy category, it's 2.5 to 4.1 visits for every admission. For HHA, it's 0.5 to 0.6 visits for every admission. So this visit utilization threshold is different for every clinical grouping, and I want to use these conditions into my solver. So I have another visit utilization, which is taking the total number of visits divided by the total number of admissions, total number of visits being served per admission. So I want to use this group for the solver constraint as well. So let me run the solver to maximize 45% of net profit. My first solver problem is to identify the maximum revenue from this 975 patients. So I have a capacity. I have a capacity for each of the categories. Like for cardiac is our agency have to admit at least 15% into the cardiac category. Similarly for respiratory, similarly for MS rehab, neuro rehab, and wound has at least 75%, at least 17% of the capacity. So I want to use this as my constraint as well. So my set objective is first the revenue. My changing values would be the allocation mix. I want to use this mix based on the capacity or the guideline that have been provided. And my constraint would be the allocation mix would be more than equal to the capacity guideline that I have been given. And the total number of patients served is basically allocation mix multiplied by 975 total patients. If I forgot to set one objective, which is the total allocation mix have to be 100%. It cannot exceed 100. If I run the solver, so by running um, there's a particular reason why I don't have 100% allocation mix. And let me run the constraint one more time. More than so the total operating revenue is 2,156,000 from those 975 patients. Now it's my cost part, which I have to identify so that the agency can make total net profit of 45%. So my second solver, we set the solver. My set objective is the gross margin percentage would be a value of 0.45 or 45%. My changing value is the visit served, which I don't know, I have to identify. And my constraints are the guideline that I have been provided. So for nursing, the visit utilization guideline would be more than these number and less than column 80. Similarly, I would go ahead for therapy more than column AA, and similarly for therapy less than column A. And last is the home health aid clinician is more than column AB and less than column AF. If I run the solver, the solver is running and I've generated 45% of total net profit. So total operating revenue is 2,156,000. Total operational cost is 1,185,000. Total net margin is 970,000, and the operational and gross margin percentage is 45% of the total. Total gross margin percentage is 45%. So this is my final project, and thank you.